Welcome, everyone. It's so lovely and fantastic and awesome to have you guys here today. So, I'm going to start now. As I start going through, I'm going to take myself off the video. I'm going to switch off the video so you can just focus on what I'm saying and on the slides as well. But what would be really great is, a lot of interaction from you, telling me what you want to get out of it. So just answering the questions that would really help direct my talk to meet your needs. And if you've got questions as we come along, as I go along, just type the questions in as well. So while I'm teaching, I'm just going to keep my eyes on the chat box as well so I can be answering the questions as they come through. So yeah, welcome everyone. It's really great to have you guys here. Yeah, so the reason why I'm doing this is obviously because of the situation we're in. And I just feel that, a lot of people have been asking a lot of questions about things that are going on. So I just decided that it would be a great opportunity to just reach out and help people, just literally helping people kind of get to grasp with what's going on and help you navigate your way through. So please, this webinar is really going to help you reflect. So what I really want you to do is really reflect on yourself as we go along, so that and that's why I've made the chat private. So anything you type in the chat, I'm the only one that can see it, because I really want you to open up to yourself and also open up to me. Because that would really help me do this. So as we know, there's been a lot of issues, the crisis that we're going through at the moment. And this current pandemic has created a lot of crises in health, the financial market that is disrupting a lot of lives. Almost every single person on this planet is affected. The world is literally gone. It's just, a lot of uncertainties, a lot of, questions, a lot of worries and changes. But the fact is that we can get through this. I'm not underplaying what people are going through. I know it's real, the loss of businesses, the loss of income, loss of lives as well. But the fact is that we can't dwell on that. We've got to look at that, but also look at what we can do to get ourselves through. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you today about. A lot of people are struggling to stay calm in this ongoing crisis. But what I'm going to say is that it's okay. And you'll understand why I say this as we go through. You're probably concerned about how you can be more agile to meet the ongoing threats, overcome the obstacles, and capitalize on opportunities. And this is exactly what we're going to be talking about. So you're most certainly at the right place. In fact, someone said to me the other day that he was so worried about getting the disease himself that he had literally started making himself sick. And I said the reason why that happens is that once you start dwelling on the negative so much and creating stress, what you end up doing is lowering your own immunity, and then you become more prone to the disease or to the infection. So it's really important to stay focused, stay firm, stay positive, so that you can get through. So the title of our talk today is Boost Your Resilience so that you can thrive to uncertainty. Now, this is one big uncertainty, but in life, you always face them. There's always one form of change, one form of uncertainty that you're going to face. But the big question is, why is it that some people sail through life storms while others get knocked down and are not able to get back? And the answer to this is resilience. Resilience is the key. With resilience, you'll be able to unlock, a lot of opportunities and be able to problem solve, even in the midst of a problem, even in the middle of a great crisis. So what I want you to do now is, if you can just type in the chat box what your greatest challenge is at the moment. what is it for you? What is the biggest challenge that you are facing now, or the biggest worry, the biggest concern that you are facing? If you could just put that in the chat box, that would really help direct my talk as well, because then I can start addressing specifically things that you put down. So I'm going to carry on and keep my eyes there. So now, and this might look familiar to all of us actually. And the question is that in the last week, how many times have you said to yourself, I can't take this anymore? These are really unprecedented times. Schools are shut, public events are cancelled, life and business have literally stalled. It's easy to feel unprepared for times like this. Crisis actually never gives us warning before it comes and disrupts our life. And this is a typical example of that. As a business owner or leader, you are responsible for steering yourself, your company, even your family through these turbulent times. With increased resilience, with increased confidence and calmness, you're going to be able to emerge from this crisis much stronger than before, but you've got to be determined to do it. The fact is that when you increase your resilience, you literally can become anything that you want. You can become what you've always wanted to be in life. You can achieve what you've always wanted to achieve in life. Okay, I can see things coming in. Keep them coming. Your biggest challenge at the moment, what is it for you? So I need your full attention. Turn off all social media, any form of distraction, put that aside. Grab your pen and paper because you're going to take down lots of notes. And I aim to finish in 60 minutes. Hopefully, we probably shouldn't get to the 90, but we'll see how it goes. So poor attitude to infection prevention and control in my community. Okay, interesting. Poor attitude to, okay, quite poor health education and awareness, getting through issues in life, divorce, and wanting to change jobs. Okay, perfect. Keep them coming because I'm going to start, when I'm talking, hopefully I'll be able to direct a lot of the talk to what is coming through. And like I said, anything you put in is private. I'm the only one that can see it. So this is basically what we're facing at the moment. A lot of fear induced from overreactive behavior, which is as a result of the issues we're going through. Life as well is still carrying on while we are going through this crisis of COVID-19. There's still issues in life. Relationships are breaking down. Even people who are losing their jobs. There are companies that were already making redundancies before the crisis started, so it's even gotten worse. So there are lots of real issues going on. On top of that, we've got the crisis of COVID-19. So there's a lot of stress, business loss, redundancies, and all this is what leads to or leads people to then have issues with mental health. And mental health is really as a result of the uncertainties that come about from different kinds of disruption or traumas or issues that you face in life. Another thing that arises from situations like this, which we're probably all aware, is loneliness and loss of control as well. The loss of control is an interesting one because it's come up so many times where people are saying that what is really freaking them out more of is the fact that they've lost control, that they're being told to stay at home. It's kind of losing that control. And you're going to understand why that happens as we go along, because I'm going to explain exactly why people feel that way and what to do to get through it. So like I said, if you've got questions as I go along, please put the questions into the chat box as well. So yes, if you stick with me to the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you a free gift at the end. This is my bribe for you to stay through. And actually, you're going to benefit so much from the webinar. I can assure you of that. But this goal setting manual is really useful because in times like this, with crisis management, you need three types of people. The people that understand the goals and priorities of the organization, to be able to get through to be able to literally put the concerns on the table. Then you've got the people that need to understand what the crisis is. Then you've got the third kind of people who understand how the organization actually works. Now, to be able to do all this, and to, the purpose of having this is that this will help keep people centered, and also help to serve as a guide to enable you put a plan in place. Now, with everything going on, the one thing that everyone needs to start doing is having a goal of what you want to achieve, and putting that goal into action. And that is what this goal setting manual is going to help you do. So it leverages on how the brain works to enable you optimize your knowledge and put the actions that you need to implement, so that you're well equipped to then achieve those goals at the end of this whole lockdown or crisis that we're in. So at the end of this webinar, I'm going to send this out to everyone that stays to the end. This goal setting manual will help you even after this, in anything you're doing, your business, or even if it's you planning your career or what you want to do. It will help you, because it starts off with getting you to think about what it is you really want, looking at your values, and then you're able to put all this into place to get to then achieve what you want at the end. So my bold promise to you today is that by the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you step-by-step tools from the most significant research brain-based themes to enable you emerge from this disruption better than before, and prepare you massively, significantly for the future. So now the question is, what do you want to get out of this webinar? What is it that made you come on? What is it that you want to achieve and get out at the end? Is it to become a more effective leader? Is it to build a more successful business? If you can just start putting those into the chat for me. Let me see, what is it that you want to get at the end of this web class? And you see, the reason that I can make this bold statement to you is that to achieve your goals is dependent on one key thing. And that's what we're going to look at. Excellent. Awesome. So yeah, put down what it is you want to get at the end of this web class. So this training, just to make sure you're at the right place, is for any executive, leader, manager, whether you're a teacher, entrepreneur, or just looking to get into leadership. Or if you want to thrive or flourish, then you're at the right place. If you want to be able to make difficult decisions easily, because you see, making decisions is one thing, but how easily do you make them is the key. If you're literally crippled or tired of being crippled by stress and anxiety and overwhelm, then you're most certainly at the right place. If you're ready to take action and transform your business or transform your life, then you're at the right place. But what I would say is, if you're the kind of person that is just looking for a quick fix with minimal input, then no, this is not going to help you at all. So if this is you, or any of these are you, then definitely we'll carry on, because you're most certainly at the right place. So take more control. Could you please be more interactive? I need more feedback. It just seems like the same people are responding, and I can see that there are more people on this webinar. So tell me what it is that you want to get out of this web class at the end of this session. I've got about just over an hour with you. So what do you want to take away? Because you've got to make that commitment of what you want to take. So today I'm going to show you exactly how to find your inner strength so that you'll be able to overcome life's hurdles. You're going to understand how to thrive under pressure. So that means no more overwhelm or burnout, no more fear of the unknown, no more fear of stepping out of your comfort zone to be able to take the bold step that you've been avoiding. And one thing I'll say here, and those that have listened to my talk always hear me say this, because when I ask people who is a leader, it's usually the people that manage others that identify themselves as leaders. Excuse me. The fact is that every single person is a leader. Everyone is a leader, and more so now than before, because now everyone has to, most people have to work from home. Basically, most people are now having to work from home, so you're now having to manage yourself, manage your family, manage things you're doing, and that is leadership, because you're having to lead yourself. Even when you're working in a team of people, even if you're not managing people, you still have to manage yourself, manage your work, manage what you do. And sometimes you find that you might have to manage upwards. So managing your manager or managing even people that you work with. So I'll say here that every single person is a leader. So you need, if you are not identifying as a leader before, I want you to start identifying as a leader today, because for you to be able to achieve anything you want to achieve in life, you've got to start from the standpoint of being in charge, of leading yourself first and foremost. So the question is, who is Maureen? Now, I'm a mom of 2 boys and a wife, and I started off my career as a biomedical scientist and a medical microbiologist. And it's times like this, with this whole corona, that I really miss working in the lab, because I kind of feel, oh my gosh, this would be a great time to get back into the lab and do some research. So I left that a few years ago and decided to go into education. I've worked in different sectors, and then opened my own business. I opened a hair and beauty salon in the area of the UK that I live. And it was after that that I started asking a lot of questions, asking about life, asking about how things, why people are the way they are. And it was at the end, because at the end of that business, this is how I felt. And I don't know if any of you are feeling like this at the moment, overwhelmed, that feeling of powerlessness, being sleep deprived, worthless, and, feeling that I wasn't cut out to run a business. I wasn't cut out to basically do what I was doing. That feeling of just being completely hopeless. And usually this is how you will find me, feeling hopeless and helpless. And that was when I started asking the question, why is it that some people, people face a similar situation, but their reaction to it is so different? While some people might face a traumatic situation, a business failure, or obstacles in life, while some people will bounce back, some others crumble and stay at the bottom. Some people get down and come back up, and some people just never come back up. And I started asking myself the question, why does that happen? And that was when I started researching a lot. I went back into neuroscience to really understand why people behave the way they do, why people react the way they do. And I discovered the key to success, because for me, that discovery is what really sets people apart. And I discovered that the key to success is to literally take back control of your brain. And that is exactly what I'm going to be speaking to you today about. Over the years, I've been very privileged to spend my time and work with so many amazing people, from executives in organizations to people who are just trying to step out of their own comfort zone, couples, parents trying to cautiously raise their own children, and working with teachers as they learn to change their own mindset so that they can help their students rise higher and achieve excellence. And I learned that to unlock your potential, you needed to understand your brain, and you needed to be able to be in control of your brain. So before we get into it, I want you to look at this diagram. And can you identify an arrow in that diagram? If you can, just pop yes in the chat box. If you can see the arrow in that FedEx logo, rather, if you can see the arrow in the FedEx logo, just pop yes in the chat box. There's a reason to this. Some of you might have seen it before, so I'll see how quickly your answers come up. Oh, well done. Yeah, I can see some yeses. Oh, fantastic. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I can see some. If you can't see the arrow, put no. If you can't see it, put no. If not, I'm just going to assume everyone has seen it and I'll move on. If you cannot see it, just pop no. Okay. Okay, I can see some no's coming through. Okay, that's good. Okay, cool. Just so that we don't waste time. Okay, so it's quite a mixture actually. It's a good mixture. Okay. Quite a few no's, quite a few yeses. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the reason why I did this much later, but I'm gonna show you where the arrow is. Okay, yeah, now you've seen it. I've seen it now. Okay, that's good. So that's the arrow. So now that you've seen that, I can assure you, you're never going to miss it again. Anytime you look at a FedEx logo, you're going to be seeing the arrow. And I'm going to explain that to you in a second. You see, because you've all been seeing a FedEx logo for years and years. You've always seen the FedEx logo, but never noticed the arrow in it. And that is literally how the brain works. Now that you've seen it, and I'll tell you a story to go with this, and I'll explain it later. There was once I and my husband went to look for a car, and we got to the garage, and suddenly I started looking at Honda. And I'd never really noticed Hondas before, never even been interested in driving a Honda. But I decided to we started to just look at a Honda. And eventually we didn't buy it, but we left the garage. And on our drive back home, which was about 40 minutes drive, I honestly noticed about 15, if not more, Hondas on the road. And I kept asking myself, for goodness sake, where have all these Hondas come out from? I'd never noticed all the Hondas before. And then suddenly I'm just noticing every single Honda. And that's how the brain works. Well, so basically, whatever you see, how you perceive things is what you see. So now that you've seen this, every time you see this FedEx logo, your thought will be directed towards it. So every time you talk of a FedEx logo, you will now be thinking of that arrow. So like I was looking at, suddenly started talking about a Honda, and what does the brain do? It now directs me to now notice Honda, so things you hadn't noticed before. So anything you think about, your brain literally directs you there. So, and we're going to do more about that as we go along. So this is what we're going to cover today: thinking traps to avoid. So we're going to look at the thinking traps to avoid, and this time is so important that you identify these thinking traps. And once you identify them, you now start getting rid of them. The second secret we're going to look at is the science of eliminating stress and anxiety. Then we're going to look at how to change your attitude to boost your resilience. So what I'll say here in what I'm going to give you is that every single person is different. Your starting point is different from somebody else's starting point. Your experience is different from somebody else's experience. So, and how much work you put in is exactly what you're going to get back. So while somebody asked me a question recently about how long does it take for you to be able to achieve things, and the answer is it just depends on you, and it depends on your starting point. So one thing I'll say is that if you're lazy and not ready to put in any action, this is not going to work for you at all, because what we're looking at is the brain, your brain. And the point of this whole webinar is that you now need to start being in control of it. To be able to be in control of your brain, you've got to take action. If you leave it to carry on doing what it's been doing, then nothing is going to happen. You'll just end up keep getting the same results that you've been getting. So using the chart now, I want you to just type in A, B, or C or D to the answer here. To build a resilient brain, you should do which of the following? Is it A, cultivate optimism, inoculate yourself with manageable stress and challenge yourself? Or B, make pessimism your default mode so that you will never be surprised? Or do you think it's avoid stress at all costs? Or do you think it's save your energy for times of need? So if you just pop into the chat box, if you think it's A, B, C, or D, you can see some answers coming through. You guys are cool. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, now I'm getting a bit of a mixture. Interesting. Okay. It will be interesting to see if you feel the same at the end. Okay, quite a few of you got it right. So or should I even tell you the answer? Probably shouldn't, and see how you feel. What I'll say. I'm not going to tell you what the answer is actually now. Let's wait till the end and see if you change your mind. So if someone can remind me at the end to see if what the answer is, and we'll see if everyone has, if we put the answer in. A lot of people got it. There's just a few that didn't. So let's get on and see. Now, this is a diagram of the iceberg. We've all seen the iceberg before, but I'm using this as an analogy of the brain. So the iceberg, if you look, about the bulk of the iceberg is at the bottom of the ocean, so it's beneath. And that is just symbolizes the unconscious brain. 90% of what we do is driven by our subconscious brain. The subconscious brain is our autopilot, basically. So a lot of us are still coming through, and they are right, actually. Well done, guys. So the subconscious brain is what drives us. It's the habits, it's the autopilot. You might know that a lot of times when you're driving on a route that you're used to, you find that you could be chatting and go on that journey, even up to an hour, even longer, however, and you will not notice anything on your way. You're literally, it was your subconscious driving you. So the subconscious is what drives 90% of what we do. The 10% at the top, which is our observed behavior, is driven by our conscious brain. Now, the conscious brain, that's where we make our decisions, problem solving, impulse, things that needs a lot of energy. The conscious brain needs energy to be able to do what it needs to do, and it needs a lot of energy. We function from our conscious brain, the brain will literally be drained because it will be using so much energy consistently. When you're learning something new, it's your conscious brain. Once it becomes a habit, then it becomes unconscious. Then you don't have to think about it. Now, the problem is that many people now literally just live from their subconscious brain. The question is, what is in your subconscious brain? Because what goes into the subconscious brain, or things that make it up, are your values, your beliefs, your experiences, genetic traits, cultural background, all these things. And a lot of it are things that you haven't even put in consciously. There are things you've absorbed as a child from your parents, from teachers, from the environment, things that you've picked up from the media, from reading, from friends, just subconsciously, just literally taking it in. Now, as a child, when you're born, your neurons, which are the neural pathways in the brain that create the thought. So each time you have a thought, you have these neural pathways that link together. Now, each time you have a thought, there's a neural pathway that is formed. So when you have these thoughts and they keep forming, once you keep going over the same thought or same thing over and over, it then becomes fixed and then creates what can become known as your beliefs, and that creates your values. Your experiences, as you're having these experiences, they're all building up as these neural pathways, and they're being stored in your brain. So anytime you need to do something, what your brain does, it goes into the subconscious to look for the answer, to look for the solution first. And it's from there that a lot of people operate. For example, in this situation we're in now, a lot of people are operating from their subconscious and not actually bringing the conscious in at all. And what I want you to do today is to just be aware of this as we go along. so that you now start being aware of what is in your subconscious. And it's what is in your subconscious that makes you who you are. And that's who you become. But the fact is that we now know from science, because in the past, the belief was that however the brain is as a child, you're going to be like that for the rest of your life. We now know that these neural pathways that form can be changed. And it's known as neuroplasticity, where they can be disconnected and form new pathways, or new pathways can form and then the old ones can just fade away. So let's now start off by looking at the first secret, which is looking at the thinking traps to avoid, to enable you remain calm. Neuroscience shows us that the ability to see the world differently can create significant opportunities. And your state of mind, more than anything else, determines your level of success. But we have blockers that stop us from having the right state of mind. And these blockers are known as thinking traps. And this is what we're going to look at. So let's look at the brain briefly. The brain has 100 billion nerves and over 1 trillion connections between these neurons. When you have a thought, it's then linking with another one. And that's what makes us to be very creative. That's what makes us to be very imaginative. And I always say that, see, as creative as the brain is and as imaginative as it is, if you let it, if you leave it to do its own devices, it can actually be very creative and imaginative negatively. So we need to now start being in control to direct the brain to do what we want it to do. Because the fact is that, think about it, we look after ourselves. A lot of people are so cautious about what they eat, about the cream that they rub on their bodies, about the makeup they put on, about their hairstyles or gel or whatever they use on their hair, both male and female. So we care so much about these things. But the main organ in our body that drives us, that makes us who we are, that determines the kind of relationships we have, that determines how we react to situations, we neglect it to do its own thing. Our brain literally has only about 1,500 cubic centimeters of processing capacity. So we need to simplify the information coming through our 5 senses to be able to use them effectively. This ends up resulting in us cutting corners or taking shortcuts to enable us handle this sensory load that is coming in. It also means that not getting a direct readout of the world, so that our thoughts and our beliefs about the world are vulnerable to error. These errors directly interfere with our own resistance and with how we handle things, setbacks and stresses or anxieties or issues of life. There are many thinking or what we call cognitive distortions, and we're going to go through a lot of them. But for example, if you're depressed, you probably get bogged down by limiting beliefs, and it's these limiting beliefs that end up promoting negative moods. So we're now going to look at some of them. And I'll just say here that if you don't avoid these thinking traps, these are the things that automatically lead to fear, overwhelm, stress, and anxiety. But if you avoid these thinking traps, then you're able to now make those effective decisions quite quickly and under pressure. You'll be more creative because you're enabling your brain to be creative, for those neural connections to now start forming for you to get insights. You also be able to be more successful because you have higher earning potential. You have a life that is just full of joy and fulfillment. You'll be able to conquer stress and have mental and emotional control once you can control these thinking traps and get rid of these distortions. So the first thinking trap that you need to avoid is catastrophizing. What is catastrophizing? This is when you perceive a personal or professional event that it will end up coming to a disappointing or unbearable conclusion, or you see it as a sign that something more disastrous is on its way. A typical example is what we're going through now with this COVID-19, where with everything that's happening, going on in the news, lockdown, catastrophizing is when you then go, I shouldn't even have bothered starting my business. I know I'm going to lose it. And someone has actually said that to me. You know, it's when your thinking is distorted by your past experiences and you subconsciously sabotage new opportunities. And that happens because your brain is now trying to confirm the negative belief that you actually have. Your brain can only work with what you give it. Catastrophizing is when you're constantly anticipating disaster from minor threats or even from huge threats, but then you just generalize that it's going to be the end of the world. You know, it's going to be worse than it actually is. So that's catastrophizing. And as we go through this, I want you to try and see if you can identify yourself in any of these, or if you can identify someone. But first and foremost, see if you can identify you first. So jumping to conclusions, and I'm going to tell you about Paula. Paula is a junior employee who works well with her colleagues and manager. Her manager has been always quite upfront to give her constructive feedback or tell her when she's doing well at her job, and very forthcoming with praise when she meets her expectations or meets deadlines or does what she needs to do. Now, there are times in their team that they go through periods of working under extreme high pressure with tight deadlines. One morning, Paula got to work, checked her email, and saw a one-line message from her manager, which read, "Call me as soon as you can." Immediately, Paula started panicking, wondering what she had done wrong. Now, can you see how Paula, without any facts, had jumped to conclusions, assuming that her manager had emailed her for negative reasons? So she literally was jumping to conclusions that she must have done something wrong. The trouble with Paula's thinking is that she automatically believed with certainty as well that her manager was emailing because something was wrong, while the fact could have been that she might have done something really good and he wanted to praise her for it or something. This thinking trap of making assumptions without relevant data is jumping to conclusions. And I don't know if you can relate to this. You know, I'll lose my job, I'll lose my business, or this is going to happen. I remember once when I was in Malaysia with someone and we were about to go, I think we were going somewhere, needed to get on a bus. And immediately she went, no, it's not going to come. We're going to have to wait here for so long. I'm going, for goodness sake, you know, just be a bit more positive. The bus is going to come and we're going to get there on time. These blocks are always directed towards negativity. So what I want you to do, if you don't take anything away from today, one thing that I need you to go away with is being aware of what you're thinking. Just start, you know, thinking about what you're thinking. Listen to what you're telling yourself. Listen to what your subconscious mind is coming up with. It's so important because when you leave those thoughts to keep coming, what they end up doing is they keep connecting together and then it becomes a habit for you. The next thinking trap is mind reading. You probably know someone that does this. And this is negatively assuming that you know what another person is thinking. I know why she said that. It's because she thinks I'm not good enough. He thinks I'm a loser. They think I can't do it. People who mind read also tend to jump to conclusions as well. The next is overgeneralizing. And this is taking one unfortunate incident that has occurred and jumping to conclusions about your entire life. I seem to always fail at things. I always say the wrong thing. You know, for example, if you make a mistake or you miss a deadline, you start believing that you're not cut out for that job or for that role, or you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur because you've probably approached a few people and they've turned you down. So it's not for you. You're not cut out for it. Sometimes also it could be people's reaction to you that creates this type of thinking and causes that fear of failure in case what happened in the past happens again. I always remember when my salon business closed and a friend of mine analyzed me and the way I ran the business. And honestly, at that point, I truly believed I was not cut out to run a business. If I hadn't, taken hold of that mind trap, I honestly would not be where I am today. So it's very important to also listen to what people are telling you. Because if you don't, you literally absorb it and it's in your subconscious and then you start acting it out. And that's why a lot of times you find some people self sabotage, they are procrastinating. And it's important to start asking yourself why. Why am I afraid to do this? Why am I holding back? Why am I self sabotaging? So the solution to all these things is you need to restructure your thoughts. And I'll ask a question here. Do you recognize yourself in any of these? Or do you feel that you need to restructure and change your thoughts? If you can just pop it into the chat box, yes or no. And I want to see whether it's yes or no, actually, because it would be interesting to see, to get a feel if you've actually seen this. And let's talk about you, not even anybody else. Can you identify yourself in any of those thoughts, those mind traps? You need to be able to restructure these thoughts basically so that you don't end up pushing yourself into a depressing corner or jeopardizing your own life or business by making the wrong decisions. I can see a no. That's good. Awesome. So the people that are putting no for themselves, do you identify anyone like that that does any of those? So quite a few yeses and a few nos. And the nos, I want you to be really truthful and honest with yourself as well. If you've never done any of those, you've never experienced any of those mind traps, you might have experienced how these thinking traps can lead people down an impossible path where they lose hours, sometimes days, even weeks, and even years of your life being stuck in a circle of no progress in the same pattern. But the fact is that it doesn't have to be like that. You can change it first and foremost by recognizing it and then dissociating from it immediately. So someone says, I jump to conclusions and often mind read. Yeah. And mind reading is an interesting one because it's something people, well, obviously they're all done subconsciously. And you find people actually getting upset with somebody else. Why did you react that way? I knew you were not going, I know what your reaction would be. How do you know what my reaction would be? No, or I know what you are thinking. You're thinking that I can't do it, or you're thinking I won't go. Just it's all those things that you just need to be aware of. And a lot of people have had issues, even in personal relationships, from these mind traps. So just be aware of them. Okay, someone said some before when I was young. Yeah, that's good. Well done, you. And then sometimes, okay, that's good. I like, yeah, thanks, guys, for at least being open and honest. And I want you to just be very reflective today. So this saying is really true. You become what you believe. And it's so true because whatever it is you believe, that's exactly what you end up doing. Like I said, whatever you put into your subconscious now becomes your behavior pattern, because when you have a thought, the thought is creating an emotion. The emotion is what then leads you to take an action, and it's this action that becomes your behavior, and the behavior ends up becoming a habit for you. And then you then look at yourself and say, that's the way I am. I've always had a hot temper. I'm always very sensitive to what people say, or I'm not good at doing maths, or I'm not good at accounting, or I'm not a people's person. I'm not good at being a leader. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. And then the more you say it, the more it becomes you, the more you start believing it. The fact is that beliefs are filters. They are filters to reality. So you end up, you see the world not as the world is, but as you are. You see the world as you are. But the fact is that a lot of people see the world and think that's the way it is, but it's really coming from what is inside you. So, question, did you know that your level of awareness determines the level of success that you attain? And that's why being self aware is so important. How well do you know yourself? So, you need to start paying attention to what you say and what you're thinking. The fact is that in the midst of this economic downturn that we're experiencing, when others see closed doors and get cynical about the struggles that lie ahead, you can now start seeing open windows. You can now start seeing opportunities. You can now start seeing things that you can achieve. Don't be drawn into the catastrophe that is going to be that or we're facing. So awareness is really, really important. And that's why when I do coaching, one of the things that I always make sure we do first is understanding your behavior preferences, because that will enable you understand yourself, understand why you react certain ways to things, understand why you behave the way you are, understand how you react to people the way you do, understand, also enable you understand how to be more influential, how you can influence people better. Now, the diagnostic tool that I use, kind of, it's just a brief diagram of what it shows you, because it's looking at the different parts of the brain, the frontal part of the brain and the posterior, and then it divides it into these quadrants. And you can see the yellow part is really people that prefer facts. They're really task oriented, people that are disciplined about time. That's people that like perfection. So they like things done right. Now, I'll just use two as an example. And then the green are more the innovative, the creative minded kind of people, flexible about their time, able to persuade people easily as well. Now, if you as a person or as a leader, or even in a personal relationship, or even with your friends, if you are the what I'll call the yellow, and you're working with someone who is the green, if you don't know how to address them, communicate with them, get the best out of them, then you will lose a lot of the skill that they have, which is what you find a lot in organizations. Because in organizations, you have managers who are complaining constantly, this person is not doing this, but you've not taken time to understand them as a person. What are they? What is their behavior preference? Now, this behavior preference, it's not a personality trait. So it's not a personality test that many of us have done in the past, where you said that is the way you are, and that becomes a fixed thing. This is now understanding that you can change your behavior. And a lot of people in companies, when they go to work, adapt their behavior either down or up, adapt from their normal preferred pattern. And when they do this, you find a lot of people either getting frustrated or stressed at work because they're adapting, so far away from what their behavior preference is, without understanding what the behavior preference is. Because once they understand it and change their thinking, then they'll be able to adapt down without it being a stressful situation. So if anyone wants to know more about that in terms of coaching, let me know. It's fantastic for you to enable you understand who you are, understand why you feel the way you do and why you behave the way you do. So the fact is that you can choose to see setbacks as the end of the road, or you can then now start seeing it as the beginning of a new path, which I think is so poignant now, because now at the end of this lockdown, what are you going to do? Are you going to now see what everything that we've been through as the end of the road? Or are you now going to see this period that now I can actually start a new path, structure my business, or look at my career, start something new, build something new, or just the important thing is just make it work for you. Understand what it is that you want to do. And one thing I would say to people at this time, and I've said it in my podcast as well, make this time count. Don't let this time in lockdown be a waste, because a lot of people are focusing more on the fact that we're in lockdown make it work for you. Someone was complaining to me recently that the money that is meant to be coming through the government is not coming through, and it's just creating so much stress for him in his business. So now said you can focus on what you can control. Look at your business. This is an opportunity to now start thinking about where you want to take the business. If you don't get that money, what are you going to do? Look at a worst case scenario. Have a plan in place. Also have a plan if the money comes through, but don't just depend on the government. You have the opportunity, you have the time to now start rethinking about how you want to be a leader, how you want to lead your team, how you want to run your business, how you want to run your team, how you want to get to know your people. Just use this time, make it count for you. So I'm going to remind you again that please don't forget to put questions into the chat box as we go along. So as I'm touching on points, if you've got any question or even comment as well, put it into the chat box, please. So we're now going to look at the second secret, which is the science of eliminating stress and anxiety. Managing stress improves decision making, it improves creative thinking, and also helps boost their immune system. Now, we've talked about these neural networks in the brain and how they wire together. The fact is that if you do not control stress, then stress would literally take over your brain. Now, let me just explain stress briefly to you, because eliminating stress is literally the key to health, to mental well-being, to longevity. The problem is that with stress itself, it can be very debilitating. It can actually damage the neural pathways in the brain, inhibiting you from living and succeeding fully. But the good news is that there's now a solution to it, because you can now rewire those connections. And I always say you can rewire your brain so that you can now eliminate stress. Now, there are different types of stress. The brain is divided into different sections, and inside, right deep in the middle of the brain, is the emotional brain. And in the emotional brain, literally is there to protect us. But the problem is that when it's then very activated, it takes over the rest of the brain. And when we're in that state for a long period of time, that is what then creates what we know as stress. So this quote by Buddy Sanders says, when you react, you let others control you. When you respond, you are in control. And I really like this quote, because to overcome obstacles like stress, you need to change your response to your situation. The bad news is that you can't control anything but your thoughts. You can't control somebody else's thoughts. You can't even control somebody else. The good news is that with your thoughts, you can control everything that pertains to you. So how do you respond to situations? Do you react or do you respond? And that's a good question to actually ask yourself. Stress happens when people feel under threat. So when you're frightened by change, by uncertainty, or anything new. And the reason for this is that the brain is literally there to protect us. The brain is working for us. The brain wants to keep our species, living. So it's there to enable us survive. So anything that the brain then perceives as dangerous, as a threat, then all it's trying to do is to keep us safe or to keep us away from it. So it will allow us go to things that it sees as a reward or something that is beneficial. But anything that it perceives as a threat, then it will try to keep us away from. Now, the question is, what is your brain seeing as a threat? That's the big question. Because remember that a lot of things that is in the brain, you probably haven't put it there consciously. It's probably been there from your culture, from your experiences, from parents, from society, from things you've seen, things you've observed. What you now need to do is to start questioning what is in your subconscious, what is in the brain, why are you afraid of this particular thing, why are you risk averse. It's now what you asking yourself those questions. I can see some questions. I react a lot instead of stopping as well. Yeah. So someone says that he reacts a lot instead of stopping and responding. And I think that's the key now, is to now know that you can control your brain. Because when you're reacting, basically what is happening is that the emotional brain has literally taken over the brain. And I'm just going to explain this a bit more. Because when the emotional brain is working, all it's trying to do is to keep us safe. So, and then it activates the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism to keep us away from what it perceives as danger. And we can think of the cavemen, the days where they had to survive out and keep themselves away from predators. But the fact is that a lot of things that we perceive now as a threat is not actually a threat. In fact, most times, a lot of things we're even afraid of is not what is. It's not actually anything to be afraid of. So when your emotional brain is activated, what it's trying to do is to either make you flee, to fight, basically to protect yourself. And the way it does that is to first and foremost take the oxygen from the prefrontal cortex, which is the frontal part of your brain, the conscious brain, where you make decisions. So it will start to take the energy from there first, the oxygen from there first, to use to now give it to your muscles, so that if you need to fight, you can fight. If you need to flee, you can flee, basically. And the other places it goes to are things like the intestinal region or urinary bladder. That's why sometimes if you're really, really stressed, you can even wet yourself, because your urinary, because it takes it from the places that don't need it immediately. So, and the first place is really your cognitive brain. That is your thinking brain. And you might have experienced situations whereby you've prepared an interview or an exam and then gone into the interview and literally gone blank, where you don't remember anything from nerves. And that's exactly what has happened, because your emotional brain has then hijacked your conscious brain and taken the energy from there, and then you can't think, you literally go blank. So the key is that once you can control your emotional brain, then your conscious brain can kick back in and you can start making the right decisions. So that when you notice that your emotional brain is activated, at that point, instead of then taking that action to react, you stop and ask yourself, why am I upset? Why am I reacting this way? What is it about what this person said that has made me this agitated or angry or upset? What is it about this situation that is making me this, worried? I can't go into so much detail about the brain here, but sometimes we actually feel the anxiety before your brain even realizes it. And that's why you need to then put the brakes on the brain and to stop the emotional brain so that your thinking brain can kick back in. So, like I said, when you're frightened by things like change is foreign to the brain. It doesn't understand change. And that's why it will perceive it immediately as a threat, because change is new. Uncertainty is new. It doesn't know what this is all about. So as far as it's concerned, it's a threat, and it's going to try to protect you from it. When your self-esteem is attacked, your brain will perceive that as a threat. So it's like your status is being attacked, your person is being attacked, your brain will react as well. Or when you feel that the demands on you, internal or external, are beyond your control or capability, then you feel a threat. Just like at work, when they keep dumping work on you, and then you're feeling, oh, this is too much for me. Once you believe it's too much, yeah, that's exactly what your brain will do. The first key to changing this is creating the awareness. Is being aware, first and foremost, of what it is that you're thinking about. So the other thing I'll say here is that stress, like I said, affects our thoughts. You might find it difficult to concentrate and be creative without getting distracted. Or you might find yourself a lot of times worrying about your position to the point that your self-esteem is lower than it's ever been before. Then you know that, okay, there's something about your thoughts that is activating this stress reaction. So having physical symptoms as well. If you find yourself, clenching your jaw, grinding your teeth, then you know that, okay, or even having headaches and backache, these are quick symptoms to tell you that your stress mechanism has been activated. So you can now start thinking about what it is that is causing it so that you can do something about it. I've got a quick picture here about the brain. The prefrontal lobes, that's the executive state in the brain, that is the frontal part of our head, is where is the thinking brain. So that's where we make decisions. That's where we're able to problem solve. And that's the first place that the emotional brain, which is the blue area, which is deep in the brain, that is the first place that it actually goes to, it deactivates. So what you're trying to do is to align your emotional brain and the thinking brain and your executive center. What you're trying to do is align them so that they're not out of sync. Because once they're out of sync, you find that either the emotional brain has taken over, because as far as it's concerned, something that it's perceiving as a threat. So you need to now decide what is it that it's perceiving as a threat. The fact is that crisis, in most cases, would place a leader or place you in a position, kind of in between a position of dealing with the issue and then or with fear. And that fear has now been created from something that you're thinking about, because you've now had the thought and perceived that situation as fear. And like we've just looked at, fear can be lack of familiarity. The fact is that there are no playbooks for handling crisis. Like we're experiencing now, it's new. Everyone is trying to find their way through it. There are no scripts to manage it. There's a lot of feeling of chaos, and that very unsettling feeling. All this is what gives rise to the emotional brain seeing it as a threat, and then it will try to protect you from it. So the key is to change your response to the situation. You can do this by changing your thought process, change the meaning that you've given to the situation, change the meaning that, change the story that you're telling yourself. So you become motivated to rise to the occasion when you see a stressful situation as a challenge. And this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, which says, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do." And now the question is, how can you make stress work for you? And one of the key ways is be open to minor uneasiness. Move out of your comfort zone, basically. When you move out of your comfort zone and you experience something new, you often feel a bit vulnerable and weak, which is quite similar to how you feel when you're confronted with a setback. But you don't feel in control because of the uncertainty of the situation. But with time, you get used to it, and then it becomes more like a normal pattern for you. So to overcome setbacks, you need a new mindset. So the mindset that will leave behind the old assumptions, old beliefs, and adopts a new one that will help you move forward. The other thing is recognize what's causing the stress. And that's really asking yourself the question, what is causing this stress? Now we know, because science has now shown us that we can manage our thoughts, and which then helps to control our emotional brain. So, and one way is to first and foremost ask yourself, what am I thinking? Once you pay attention to your thoughts, once you pay attention to your fears, you're able to see them clearly and identify and really identify if they're justified or not. So if you're afraid of something, you're able to then determine if it's a justified fear. You're able to become more objective. So when you identify it, you stand a better chance of being able to control it. And then I'll quickly go into the third one, which is change your attitude so that you can boost your resilience. And a question to start this is, do you find yourself living on the surface of your life, or do you dive to the depths of it? Because if you live or work on an emotionally superficial level, things can feel relatively easy or comfortable, but you find that there's no foundation there, nothing to drop on. In one way or another, one time, one point or another in life, you'll find yourself feeling really shallow and lost. And that's why you need to build resilience. Sir Bacon says, we rise to great heights by a winding staircase. And it's you now being able to embrace this winding staircase and know that, okay, I can't see what's up there because it's really winding. But you know what? I'm going to face it and embrace whatever I see along the way and deal with it as it comes along. Resilient people turn frustrating situations into opportunities to learn something new. And I think that's something that you should really take away, actually use this time. And I've got a question here. I think I've answered it along the way, though. Is resilience something you're born with or something you build up over time? If you just pop your answer into the chat box, and I think at this stage, everyone should get this right. So is resilience something you're born with or something you build up over time? And while you're doing that, I'll answer some questions. What's the difference between reaction and response? Okay, that's a lovely question. Now, when you're responding to something, you're in control. So it's a deliberate, you've actually thought it through and you're responding. So you're responding from your conscious brain. You're responding from the decision part of your brain. So you've thought about it and you're now responding to it. But reacting is more from your emotional brain. So that when you react to it, what you're then doing is not thinking through the situation, but just going literally from your subconscious brain, acting subconsciously, which in most cases will be a negative response and probably the wrong one as well. So that's the main difference. So both, you can build up resilience. Okay, someone said both, you can build it up. Yes, you can definitely build it up. Now, when you say both, if you're born with it, the fact is that everybody is born with some level of resilience, but as time goes on, due to your family, the family you're brought up with, what they say, what they don't say, the experiences you have, some people then, as you're growing up, basically, because the fact is that as a child, it's a blank slate. It's a blank slate, literally. If you look at the brain of a child, the neurons in the brain are not linked. They're not, they're kind of individual. And if you look at the brain of a child after 1 year, in fact, 6 months, you start seeing linkages start happening. And then by 2 years, you see more linkages happening. And then obviously, as they get older, you see a lot of them fixed. Now, so that, when a child is born, their brain is like a sponge. All it's doing is absorbing everything in the environment, every experience, everything they see. So building up resilience really depends on the environment you grew up with, and then how you as a person then decide to build it up as you then get older. So it's definitely something you build up over time. So the question is, what is it? Resilience is a personal act of defiance. It's your ability to adapt to bad circumstances by focusing on hidden opportunities. For example, you may run into financial problems or problems in your career or whatever. Cases like this, for example, if it is a financial problem and you have to change your job or change your business or change the direction, it's being able to embrace the challenge and say, okay, I can do this. So after pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, you may actually find that where you've now moved yourself is actually better, like I said. So it's your ability to face adversity and embrace it and go, I'm up to this challenge. I have the skills. I'm motivated. I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. Everyone can build the capability to be resilient, but you need discipline. So you need self-control and orderliness to help you navigate through this, and also help you navigate through the world as well. Because, with the discipline, when blocks come, when challenges come, you're able to stay focused and achieve what you want. If you're not disciplined, you find that you end up being swayed by different things, by circumstances, and by life. So resilience skills can be learned. Unfortunately, we are besieged by constant change, and change will keep happening. There's so much ambiguity in life. In fact, the workplace is so complex now. But the fact is that it's this adversity that will help build you up, that enable you learn through the process so that you can keep moving forward. Resilient people make things happen. It consists of maintaining focus basically on what you want to achieve. So in the face of adversity, it's just being focused about what you want to achieve, being positive about where you want to get to. And this type of optimism forms part of what is known as emotional intelligence. Because remember, like I've explained, it's the emotional center of the brain that drives a lot of what the brain is doing. So emotional intelligence is really being able to understand your emotional brain, being able to understand your brain as a whole so that you can make your brain work for you. I always say it's being able to get back into the driver's seat of your brain and taking charge. When you focus on what something isn't, what you find out you do is that you're blocking your perception of what it is, because you're so hung up on that negative frame of reference. And whatever it is that you're focusing on is where your brain will direct you, and it will actually confirm that thing that you're believing in. So let's say that you expect things to turn out in a specific way and they don't turn out that way. Instead of appreciating how things turn out, you're stuck on the fact that they don't turn out the way you hoped. This dilemma is somewhat similar to what is referred as cognitive dissonance, which means that once you develop an opinion about something, it's difficult to hold an opinion contrary to it, which I call confirmation bias. Okay, so the key to now learn how to shift your attitude. And to be able to do that, it's looking at being committed, first and foremost, to what you want to achieve. And I talked to you briefly at the beginning about the goal setting. Now is a time to start setting goals for yourself. Set those goals that you want to achieve this period in any aspect of your life. Be in control of what you want. Be in control of what you're thinking. Be in control of the actions that you're taking. Don't be driven by society or what other people expect. Know for yourself what it is you want to achieve. Embrace the challenge, because your ability to view change as an opportunity to act differently rather than as a crisis from which to defend yourself from. If you start looking at it, oh, it's crisis, you become a victim of this whole situation. So if you don't hold yourself accountable for what you experience, you end up finding yourself holding somebody else accountable, which is what's happening now. Everybody's pushing blame to somewhere else, or you blame the circumstance, that is COVID-19. If you're basically not satisfied with your experience, don't blame or complain about it. Instead, do something about it. There's a quote, and I think it's a Portuguese proverb that says, when there's no wind, row. Simply winning is not enough. You have to go through a process to be able to improve. And that takes patience, it takes perseverance, and it takes being intentional. So now, I've given you so much here. So I hope you've received great value, first and foremost. And then if you just write in the chat what your biggest takeaway is, what is the one thing that you are going to start working on immediately? So if you put in the chat box, what one thing you're going to start working on immediately? Just quickly in the chat box. We're almost at the end now. In fact, we're literally at the end. So I'm seeing here, very valuable. Oh, bless you. Thank you. Very informative, brilliant value. Thank you so much. Awesome. So what are you going to take away? What's the one thing that you are going to work on? Self-confidence. Okay, setting goals for myself. When you say self-confidence, this is my coaching hat now. What do you mean? Okay, you mean you took what the value you got, okay, but what are you going to do? Because that's, for me, that's more important, that you've got something that you're going to now work on. Become more resilient. How would you become more resilient? Thanks so much for being a blessing. I've been re-energized to focus on my goals and keep moving. I have to, okay, cool. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. Always thinking positively, cool. So these are things we've just gone through. The thinking traps to avoid, the science of eliminating stress and anxiety, and your ability to change your attitude to boost your resilience. So now, are you ready to boost your resilience? If you're ready, just put yes in the chat box, please. Let me just see the people that are ready. So if you're ready to boost your resilience, put it in the chat box. Cool. Changing my reactions. Okay, awesome. So the question is, where do we go from here? So quickly, I'm just going to just show you briefly what I do generally. So because with what I've given you, one thing that I've realized is that you need help to be able to do this. And that's why what I now do is really helping people. And I do this through my online training, which you're very welcome to have a look at. It's the mindsightacademy.com. I've got online courses that you can go have a look at, see if any of them interest you, that you can just do. The online training is very good, especially now. It's a great opportunity to really equip yourself with these skills, and you can dive quite much deeper into being able to do this, and you have the skills to do it. So I'll just go briefly what I offer. In terms of the training that I do face-to-face training, which can be similar to what we're doing now, or even on Zoom calls to organizations. We've got the online training, and then I also do what I call neuro coaching, which is brain-based coaching. The brain-based coaching is using neuroscience approach to help you understand your emotions, to gain that emotional mastery, and also build, become an intelligent leader, conscious leader. So you're leading your people to achieve high performance, to make, helping you make better decisions, more effective decisions, and teaching you how to communicate effectively with people to get the best out of them. One of the online courses is this emotional intelligence in leadership. We have just touched briefly on about, and the training it just goes much deeper into what we've just done. It looks at how you make those decisions, from thinking what could go wrong to leading to making impulsive decisions that you end up regret, to actually making conscious decisions, so that you're able to solve problems easier. Looking at issues where you have a problem, and you know how to confidently choose your options, try them out, get feedback, try them again, and just being able to manage, what I call crisis management more effectively. So that's what you gain on this training. You learn how to manage your thoughts, how to understand your brain. These are the skills that you gain on this particular online training. And just quickly, I've put what the first 3 modules are. The other modules are communication, empathy, how to really persuade people. So this could be how you work with your team, or even how you relate to your potential clients or clients. Because especially if you're in business, or with anybody, if you don't know how to relate to people effectively, you lose them. And this could be you as a leader, or even you as a business owner. So the course itself is $1,445. You know what? You've gotten to the end of this webinar. So I'm going to give you a special offer for this training. And the special offer is $845 US. The reason I'm doing this is because I really want to help you achieve your desired goals. I really want to help you understand what it takes to take that control back of your brain and be intentional about how you live your life. so that you can transform how you lead, you can transform how you work, and you can transform how you live. These are some testimonials of people I've worked with and people who've used these same principles in the training and have done the training. Blessing says, Maureen has rewired my brain and now face challenges confidently. The training on emotional intelligence is really life-saving. You will learn how to be in control of your emotions. You will learn how to work more effectively with people. You will understand how to communicate with people, because the interesting thing is that when you're communicating with people, and this could be your clients, this could be your colleagues, or it could be people who you manage, in most cases, they're not hearing the words you're saying. It's the emotion that you communicate with that they pick up on. And that makes the difference between someone who aligns with you or someone who gets defensive or someone who wants to pull away from you. Because things you say, how you communicate with people, will either be perceived in their brain as a threat or as a reward, basically. Anna is a teacher who's used these same principles on emotional intelligence, and it completely changed the way she teaches and the way her students were achieving. So the results she was getting increased tremendously. Emotional intelligence, for you as a leader, for you as a business owner, for you as an individual, will completely increase your performance and increase your ability to help and influence other people as well. And these are some of the benefits of emotional intelligence. Growth comes at the point of resistance. You learn by pushing yourselves to the outer reaches of your abilities. Skills come from struggle. It's only when you step outside your comfort zone that you grow. Being uncomfortable is the path to personal development and growth. It's the opposite of complacency. A little doubt and uncertainty is actually a good thing. It signals that a growth opportunity has emerged. On this training, you gain the skills to enable you develop this confidence so that you can keep growing and achieve all these benefits of making effective decisions, having the appropriate behavior in any given situation. You'll be able to use the right leadership style for the different people that you manage or lead. But also the greatness in this is that you also be able to know how to communicate with different people, because you'll identify their preferred behavior pattern and you'll be able to adapt yours so that you gain the best relationship from the collaboration or from the working relationship. Florence Sheen says, if you do not run your subconscious yourself, someone else will run it for you. And for me, I think this just summarizes what emotional intelligence in leadership is all about. It's because a lot of people are living their lives thinking that they're in control, but they're literally living somebody else's life. And so what you gain in this training is really understanding who you are, so that you make sure that you're living according to your own values and beliefs, doing what you really want to do, not what society or expects you to do, or what has been put into you from childhood or parents or the past. So who does this training work for? It works for executives and board members, for middle and senior leaders, business owners and entrepreneurs, and anyone that really wants to move into leadership. In this environment that we're in now with the impact of COVID-19, we really don't know what our new future is going to be. And what this training will give you is the skills and ability to be able to, one, lead your team now and to be able to lead them into this new future. You'll be so confident in knowing how to manage the different people and the different reactions and the different emotions that are coming from this experience, so that you'll be able to effectively manage your people through this crisis. So it will help keep them centered, and also you give them tools that will enable them execute the new goals or new strategies that you're putting in place. So in summary, With the bonus module you get 9 modules of training. You also join the Limitless Leaders community. You have the monthly coaching calls. You have the Members Resource Center. You have a discount on other courses, which is priceless. As new courses come out, you have an automatic discount for them. And then you also have this Rising Higher workbook. If you've got any questions, please post them in the chat so I can answer your question. If you've got questions about the course, about the training, about the process, please just send me, put the questions in the chat box so I can answer them. So someone is asking here if the training is just for leaders. Remember, every single person is a leader, and that is how I've structured this training. Even if you're not managing people, you're still a leader. So this training will help you manage yourself, manage your life, manage your business, manage a team if you've got a team. This is one of the first things I do in helping people rewire their brain of how they see themselves. So you are a leader, whatever it is you're doing. So this training really benefits anyone who is working in a team and sometimes leads projects or just wanted to know how to work better with colleagues. It will benefit you if you're a leader who manages people, because a lot of what we talk about is really how to understand yourself, but also get the best out of other people. So you have greater impact on how to influence people. You learn persuasive skills, how to communicate effectively, how to form effective relationships. And that could be for you as a business owner, an entrepreneur who wants to have better relationships with people so that you get more clients. Also, or if you're a teacher, then you'll be able to really have a greater impact on your students so that you get better results and higher achievement from them. But importantly, as a person, you'll be able to achieve higher performance, higher productivity as well. Click on the link in the chat box and it'll take you directly to the page so that you can enroll. And I look forward to seeing you inside the academy. The first 5 people to register will get a one-to-one coaching session with me, which is invaluable because that will get you on the right footing to start this process. You also have a 14-day satisfaction guarantee. Try it for 14 days. If you don't like it, it's not for you. Tell me, Maureen, I've given it a go. It's not for me. I want my money back. Absolutely. But I can tell you this. You will not be asking for your money back because this is invaluable. The price at which you're getting it, you would know once you get in there that the price you've gotten it is really a gift. And truly, I am giving this as a gift to really help people at this time. So if you've got any questions, please let me know. I've got one here that says, how can I make people take responsibility for their actions rather than the usual blame game? Okay, with that, it's really helping people understand, and it's awareness. I'll start with that. I think it's getting people to first and foremost start being aware, because a lot of people that do that are not even aware of what they're doing. And the question is, with training, they can get to understand why they do what they're doing, why they behave the way they're behaving, why they're not being, because you see, that is lack of being self-reflective. When you don't take responsibility and it's somebody else's fault, or you get defensive, that is someone that is not being reflective. And the honest truth is that it's so common. So with training, you can actually do that. That's one of the things that I always say, that with emotional intelligence, the first thing, as far as I'm concerned, is awareness. And you can help your people understand how to now start taking that responsibility by first and foremost getting them to think about themselves, to reflect about their behavior, why they behave the way they do. I know I spoke previously about the tool that I use, diagnostic tool. That's actually a fantastic first thing to use with people because it's based on their own answers. So when they do it and they see the answers, you can then have the discussion with them because the answers came from them. So I've put up my details here for you. If you want to know more about the neuro coaching, just send me an email and then we can book an appointment. Or you can go to the Mindsight Academy. There's a lot of information on the neuro coaching. The Mindset Academy obviously has information on the training. You can visit my website at maureenchiana.com or listen to my podcast, which is the Lead to Excel podcast. Please do that. Go and listen to the podcast. Subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to them. Leave a review for me. That would be wonderful to really see your reviews coming through. And I'm also on LinkedIn and Instagram. There's a question here. The question is it 8 or 9 modules? You've got 9 modules. So basically, I added 2 extra. It started off as 7 modules, but I've added 2 extra modules. The last module is on entrepreneurial skills. And this is really to help everyone build those skills. Entrepreneurial skills are beneficial to every single person. It gives you the tips and skills and knowledge and understanding of how to develop yourself as an entrepreneur. And these entrepreneurial skills you can use in corporate. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. But if you are, it's a bonus. If you're not, it's also a bonus. And then module 8 is really the emotional intelligent leader. So what I've literally done is brought everything you've learned in modules 1 to 7 into one to show you exactly what to do. So please, if you've got any questions, just type them into the chat box so that I can answer them now, because we're literally at the end now. It's all done. So if you've got questions, just type them in and I'm going to try and answer. So I really hope you guys have found this really useful. There's so much you can take away and start working with. So please do make the most of the information you have. And the first thing is really to just start thinking about what you're thinking. Why are you feeling anxious? Why are you reacting the way you are? It all stems from your thoughts. So just be aware of that. And that's the first place to start. Okay, the answer to the question that I asked at the beginning. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Rikayo. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, there it is. Okay. To build a resilient brain, you should do the following. A, so it's cultivate optimism, inoculate yourself with manageable stress, and challenge yourself. So like I explained, it's the optimism that will help calm your emotional brain, basically. So that is what would tell your emotional brain that it's okay, that this is a challenge. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because I'm going to learn from this process. I'm going to learn new things. I'm going to create a new business, a better business or whatever. So it's really telling your brain what it is you want it to have. And then inoculate yourself with manageable stress, which will help you move out of your comfort zone so that when challenges do come, your brain is used to it. Because remember, what really creates the stress is when your brain's not used to it, when it's new, when it's foreign, when it's not familiar. But when you keep inoculating yourself, exposing yourself to stress, when stress then comes, it won't kind of be completely new to it. So even if you feel some form of anxiety, it won't be the kind that would throw you into stress. And being able to challenge yourself. So it's really taking it that this is a challenge and I'm going to grow and I'm going to achieve something from it. So yes, the answer was A. I think there were a few answers that came as B. Make pessimism your default mode so that you'll never be surprised. No, because if you make pessimism your default mode, what you're doing in essence is kind of telling your brain a lot of times that things that are threats. So you end up, living with your emotional brain. Your emotional brain will constantly be activated, and that is a big problem. When you're pessimistic, it's kind of having the negative as your default, and that's where you find yourself very risk averse because you don't want to do anything for fear it will fail or fear of the unknown. So it's A, definitely A. That's right. Oh, Paul, this has been very enlightening. It's really fantastic having you guys on. No, I've enjoyed talking. And you see me, I could go on for another 2 hours just talking about the brain. I get so excited every time I'm talking about the brain. Being pessimistic is not ideal because you don't have control over stressful situations. Yeah, you see, the thing is that stressful situations will happen, or things that can cause, I'll rephrase that, things that can cause stress will always happen because that's life. But it's how you interpret it that will determine whether it becomes stress or not. So it's just being, alert to what you're thinking. I always tell people also, when you're dealing with other human beings, other people, be very careful of what your expectations are of them as well, because it's these expectations that can create stress as well. When people don't meet your expectations, when people don't do what you want them to, what you expect them to do, then you can, that can also create anxiety and stress for people in relationships and in the workplace as well. And, when it comes to leadership, one of the things I always tell leaders is, if people don't believe you care about them, you will not get their best. We are emotional beings. Make sure that the emotional brain is working for you, not working against you. How do you know what you're born to do? That's discovering what your value is, discovering what it is that is valuable to you, discovering what your purpose is. You've got to answer a few questions. Patricia, get onto the course. In fact, the first 3 modules of the course, you would know what your value is. Okay, another question. In a bid to manage people's expectations of you, clients and people generally, is selling yourself short a good strategy with the intention to outdo the expectations? No, you shouldn't sell yourself short, but you shouldn't come across as know-it-all or aggressive. Do you know what I mean? Be confident in what you know and sell yourself well. Be realistic about what you're saying. Any other question? God, you guys, well done. You've been here for almost 2 hours. You guys are amazing. Well done. Well done. I really, really hope you've gotten so much out of this. Stay in touch. If there's any way I can help, anything I can do, let me know. I'm so passionate about people just taking that control back of their brains. Anyone that buys the course today, I'm also going to give you a one-to-one coaching session just to support you before you get started, so you can really direct yourself to get the most out of it. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you. Really appreciate that. That's fantastic. I'll see you inside the academy. Oh, bless. You find the course really useful. It's an amazing course. I know I created it, but it's truly, truly amazing. It's really life-changing. I really look forward to seeing all those that are registering into the academy. I can see some people enrolling here. I'm so pleased that you will carry on working with me, and I'll be able to help you along the way. And for those that are not, I really sincerely wish you great success in anything you do. But like I said, you can always find me on social media. And if you want to just do the brain mapping diagnostics, you go check out the neuro coaching in the Mindsight Academy. It's got information there. It's really been a pleasure having you on this webinar. Oh, thank you so much. No, really a joy to be here. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the academy or outside the academy. And thank you once again. Bye for now.